It had been a year since the Vance family found me. In that time, Caleb, the boy they'd raised as their own, had staged 99 suicide attempts. Terrified that he might finally succeed, the Vances decided to keep my true identity a secret. They introduced me to the world as their adopted son, but I walked away without a second thought. My supposed family. What they didn't know was that I hadn't needed them at all. I had spent years building my own empire from scratch and was already a rising star in the tech world. 6 months later, on the day I officially became the youngest self-made billionaire in St. Clair, I was invited back to my alma mater for the senior graduation ceremony. Chloe Miller, a student I had personally sponsored for 4 years, stood on stage as the distinguished graduate speaker. Her eyes locked onto mine as she leaned into the microphone, her voice ringing with conviction. Right here, right now, I have to be brave and say no to predatory behavior. The auditorium buzzed. She continued, voice trembling with manufactured emotion. My family doesn't have money, but I have my dignity. For 4 years to get through school, I had to play along to protect myself. I managed to keep my integrity. She paused, letting the implication hang in the air. But what about the other girls? Not every girl is as lucky as I was. Not everyone can escape the grasp of a predator. A tear rolled down her cheek. I hope that no other young woman is forced to compromise herself just because she's poor. A wave of shocked whispers swept through the crowd. On the VIP platform, the university president, vice president, dean of students, and head of the Alumni Association all turned to look at me. Their expressions were a mixture of disbelief and horror. They all knew Chloe Miller was my scholarship recipient. In fact, I funded nearly half of all the financial aid scholarships at St. Clair University. And now, to them, it looked as though I was a monster in a bespoke suit. On stage, Chloe pulled out her phone, holding it up to the live stream camera to display her supposed evidence. Explicit DMs, suggestive memes, inappropriate emojis, even apparently unsolicited nude photos I had sent her. I allowed a soft sigh. So annoying. As a tech mogul, my physique, my muscle definition, was far better than whatever she was showing on that screen. The auditorium erupted. University leadership, mortified, began filing off the stage. What was meant to be a dignified, hopeful rite of passage had ground to a halt. My assistant rushed to my side. "Mr. Ross," he whispered urgently, "Miss Miller is the #1 trending topic on Twitter. Should I have it taken down?" I stood, adjusting the lapels of my suit. "No need," I said calmly. "But sir," he stammered, "if this keeps spreading, it won't take long for everyone online to connect you as her benefactor." A small smile touched my lips. "I'm counting on it. My company's IPO is just around the corner. We can ride this wave of viral publicity. It'll save us a fortune in advertising." My assistant's mouth twitched, but he said nothing more, falling into step behind me as I walked toward the exit. Just as I reached the doors, Chloe's voice rang out from behind me. "Jason Reed, you stop right there. Don't think I didn't see you try and sneak out. You just won't give up, will you? In 4 years, I never even let you hold my hand. Are you here today to try and kidnap me? To lock me away?" She shouted, her voice full of defiance. "Let me tell you something. You will never ever own me." She lifted her chin, a portrait of righteous indignation. "Excuse me, miss," I said, turning back to face her. "You've made a mistake. My name isn't Jason Reed." The color drained from Chloe's face. "That's impossible. You are Jason Reed. I'd never mistake you. We were on the phone just 3 days ago." "Oh," I said softly. "Given your passionate speech just now, one would think you find your sponsor completely repulsive. Why on earth would you call him?" My voice, though quiet, carried easily through the silent hall. "Doesn't that seem like a bit of a contradiction?" Murmurs rippled through the student body. I could see people in the audience looking at their phones as the online discussion shifted. She has a point. If he was harassing her and she kept fighting him off, why would she call him? The logic doesn't track. Unless she's making the whole thing up. There are some seriously messed up people out there. Remember that story last year? Some NBA star put a kid through college, and the second he stopped sending money after graduation, the kid went on a smear campaign, camped outside his house, trashed him online. Forget celebrities. I read about a regular guy who sponsored a student, and the kid used the money to buy the latest Apple products and travel the country instead of buying books. Chloe's face alternated between pale and flushed. She spun on the crowd. All of you, shut up. You're not the ones who were harassed. What do you know? She turned her fiery gaze back to me. I can prove it. I can prove this man is the predator who's been using his money to try and control me. Someone in the audience shouted, "Then prove it. Stop wasting time or we'll all know you're a liar." Another student chimed in, "Yeah, if you're lying and ruined our graduation for nothing, we won't let it go. We'll sign a petition demanding the university revoke your diploma and expel you from St. Clair for good." Chloe grabbed her phone. In front of everyone, she dialed a number and put it on speaker. So this was her grand plan, to expose me as Jason Reed. Too bad for her, it was destined to fail. With the speakerphone on, her eyes were glued to me, a flicker of triumphant malice in their depths. The phone rang for a full minute before going to voicemail. No one answered. My phone, resting silently in my pocket, never made a sound. Chloe's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. You must have it on silent. Show us. Take out your phone right now. My assistant started forward to reprimand her, but I stopped him with a single look. I reached into my suit jacket, pulled out my phone and held it up. Then I nodded at Chloe, inviting her to try again. Refusing to give up, she redialed the contact saved as Jason Reed. This time someone picked up, but it was a woman's voice. "Hello, you've reached my office. How may I help you?" The auditorium was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Chloe seemed to snap. She shrieked into the phone. "Are you Jason Reed's wife? His girlfriend? Please, I'm begging you. Make him stop harassing me. I'll pay back every cent he ever gave me for my tuition." Compared to Chloe's hysteria, the voice on the other end was poised, professional, and warm. "Ma'am, I believe there's been a profound misunderstanding. The benefactor you're referring to is a generous and kind-hearted person who has helped countless underprivileged students. They would never, under any circumstances, do the things you're accusing them of." And with that, the line went dead. Chloe stood frozen for a second, then began stomping her feet in a circle, muttering furiously. She's just blindly defending him. This is why men get away with everything. Because of women like her who refuse to see the truth. Security guards arrived as the crowd of students began to disperse. Chloe glared at me, her eyes burning with hatred. "I know what you look like. I know what you sound like. I'm not wrong. You were Jason Reed." My voice was calm. "Chloe, you've actually made me curious. Why would you turn on the person who paid for your education and accuse them of something so vile?" She didn't answer. After shooting me one last venomous look, she gritted her teeth and said, "You just wait. I'll make you admit who you are." "I'll be waiting," I said, unimpressed. I had just reached the parking garage when the university president and vice president came hurrying after me. "Mr. Ross, I am so terribly sorry," President Davis said, his face slick with sweat. "We invited you here to celebrate with our graduates, and you end up in the middle of this horrible mess. I can't apologize enough." I gave a slight smile. It was a minor disruption. "Mr. President, don't worry about it." He let out a quiet sigh of relief. But before he could speak again, it continued. "However, St. Clair is my alma mater. I will not allow anyone to tarnish its reputation for selfish gains." The president started wiping his brow with a handkerchief. Vice President Thorne quickly jumped in. "Mr. Ross is absolutely right. As a distinguished graduate, Chloe Miller was supposed to deliver a message that embodied the spirit of this university. Instead, she used the platform for personal slander. We've already had dozens of students come to the office demanding we investigate this. They are adamant that she not receive her diploma. We will handle this with the utmost seriousness." President Davis lowered his hand, his tone hesitant. Mr. Ross, about the 3 new academic buildings and the Veritas Scholarship Fund. I was hoping. I nodded. Don't worry, Principal Davis. The donation for the new buildings and the establishment of the Veritas Fund will proceed as planned. My assistant will coordinate the details with your office. As they showered me with thanks, I got in my car and drove away. I had just opened my laptop to deal with some work when my phone rang. The caller ID read, Mr. Vance. I hesitated a moment before swiping to answer. Ethan, can you come home? It's your birthday. Your mother misses you. My mind flashed back to the day the Vances found me a year and a half ago. Mrs. Vance had wept as she held me, repeating, I'm so sorry, over and over. In that moment, her pain had felt real. But then Caleb, their precious son, ended up in a lotus pond, came down with a serious fever, and I was blamed. Later, Caleb tried to win me over by making me a plate of pasta, which I accidentally knocked to the floor, scalding his arm in the process. Then Caleb's limited edition Rolex went missing, and I was accused of stealing it. With each incident, Mr. and Mrs. Vance and their daughter Olivia grew more and more disappointed in me. The final straw was Caleb's diagnosis of severe depression, followed by 99 staged suicide attempts in a single year. The Vances were terrified. They didn't dare reveal my true identity. If anyone asked, they simply said I was an orphan they'd taken a liking to and decided to adopt. If they didn't want to claim me, then I didn't want their so-called family. Mr. Vance's voice pulled me back to the present. Ethan, are you there? I'll be there soon, I said. My assistant glanced at me in the rearview mirror. For the Vance estate, sir? I was already scrolling through my inbox, flagging urgent emails. Yes, for the Vance. The Vance estate was decorated for a party. The garden was filled with colorful balloons, string lights, and a massive photo wall covered with pictures of Caleb from infancy to the present. I had almost forgotten. Today wasn't just my birthday. It was Caleb's, too. Mrs. Vance's hand, which had been adjusting Caleb's collar, froze when she saw me. Caleb was dressed in a pristine white suit with a red bow tie, the very picture of a pampered heir. Ethan, you're here. He smiled and walked toward me. As he opened his arms to hug me, I sidestepped him. I can't stand phonies. Caleb stumbled and fell to the ground. Bro, he whimpered. Ethan Ross, how could you push your brother? A furious female voice cried out. I didn't need to look. It was Mrs. Vance. My gaze drifted between her and Caleb on the ground. As he just said, Mrs. Vance, my name is Ross. His is Vance. We don't even share a last name. How does that make us brothers? She was shaking with rage, her hand rising as if to strike me. Caleb cut in, his voice pitiful. Mom, don't blame him. He didn't mean to. It was my fault. I was just so excited to see him. I wasn't watching where I was going. Mrs. Vance wrapped her arms around him. Oh, my sweet boy. You're always so kind. I snorted. Mrs. Vance, if your eyesight is failing, I suggest you see an optometrist. Her face flushed with anger again. You ungrateful monster. We invite you here to celebrate your birthday, and the first thing you do is attack Caleb. How did I ever give birth to such a disgrace? I strolled over to the sofa and sat down. A shame, isn't it? But no matter how much of a monster I am, I'm still your biological son. And no matter how kind and sweet your Caleb is, he doesn't have a drop of your blood. Mrs. Vance was speechless. After a long moment, she composed herself. I called you here today to inform you of something. I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through the news. What is it? Our family has a long-standing marriage agreement with the Hayes family. They contacted us yesterday. They were very specific that the marriage must be with a true Vance heir, and they're demanding a DNA test for confirmation. We called you back today. Before she could finish, I cut her off. You want to take a DNA test with me, then forge it to say Caleb is your son. Ethan, a young woman's voice came from the doorway. It was Olivia Vance, my biological sister. She sat down next to me. Sophia Hayes and Caleb grew up together, she said softly. She's made it clear it has to be him. We just need you to go along with this for now. Please. I turned to look at Olivia's perfectly made-up face. And what if I say no? Mrs. Vance gritted her teeth about to speak, but Caleb beat her to it. Ethan, haven't you seen the news today? Mrs. Vance and Olivia both looked at him, confused. What news? Caleb pulled out his phone, swiped a few times, and showed it to them. His eyes, however, darted toward me, full of gloating satisfaction. At the St. Clair University graduation ceremony today, a female student publicly accused Ethan of sexual harassment. She said he's been sending her all sorts of disgusting messages and photos. He paused for effect. If the media finds out he's part of our family, the damage to the company will be catastrophic. Ethan Ross. Mrs. Vance screamed. How could you do something so shameless? I laughed softly. Look closer. The name of the sponsor she accused is Jason Reed. What does that have to do with me? Olivia seemed to realize something. Mom, calm down, she said, trying to soothe her. When Ethan moved out 6 months ago, you and Dad didn't give him any company stock or access to his accounts. Where'd he get the money to sponsor a student? Mrs. Vance clutched her chest, her breathing evening out. You're right, Olivia. He's broke. He couldn't possibly afford to sponsor anyone. Caleb's expression soured. He hadn't expected the focus to shift to my supposed poverty. Mom, Olivia, it doesn't matter if he has money or not. The public doesn't care about facts. Once an accusation like this is out there, all they'll see is his predatory behavior. Mrs. Vance looked as if she'd just had an epiphany. Ethan, the family doctor will be here any minute. You will give a blood sample. Then your father and I will give you a sum of money, and you will leave. You will not come back. My expression was neutral. A sum of money. How much? Mrs. Vance thought for a moment. 1 million. I let out a cold laugh. A million. Are you trying to get rid of a beggar? 10 million. Not a penny less. You're insane. 10 million. Caleb was the first to object. I shrugged. Don't want to pay. Fine by me. The Hayes family was very specific about wanting the true Vance heir. I could just go over there, explain the situation, and marry into their family. Problem solved. No son of mine will marry into another family and live off his wife. Mr. Vance was descending the main staircase. Ethan, sorry to keep you waiting. I was on an important conference call. Mrs. Vance muttered under her breath. Why are you being so polite to him? Mr. Vance shot her a glare before walking over to me. I heard most of that. 10 million. I agree. I just smiled and shook my head, looking him straight in the eye. The price was 10 million a minute ago. Now it's 30 million. 30 million. Mr. Vance took a sharp breath. That's nearly all of the company's liquid capital. No problem. I never force anyone into a deal. Call me when you've made up your mind. I turned to leave. Wait, Mr. Vance called out. Fine. 30 million it is. Honey, are you crazy? Mrs. Vance shrieked. He's lost his mind and you're going along with it? That's all of our operating cash. What if? Mr. Vance cut her off. In a harsh whisper. You need to see the bigger picture. My sources are solid. The Hayes Corporation is already in talks with Venture Wind Dynamics. If we can secure this marriage alliance, our company will get the lead on the Southwood Resort Development Project. The profit from that will be far more than a mere 30 million. Venture Wind Dynamics. My company. Mrs. Vance pressed her lips together. Realizing her husband was right, she shot me a dirty look before going to comfort Caleb, who looked like he'd been paralyzed by the sum of $30 million. The family doctor arrived. Only after I confirmed a transfer of $30 million to my bank account did I extend my arm for the blood draw. Caleb snatched the cotton ball from the doctor and eagerly offered it to me. As he leaned in close, he whispered in my ear, "You just wait. I'm going to ruin you." "Is that so?" I sneered, pushing his hand away. I reached for the vial of blood in the doctor's hand. "Your perfect son, your wonderful little brother here, just threatened me. Said he's going to see me in jail, that he's going to destroy my reputation. You know what? I think I'll just return the 30 million. Let's all go our separate ways and never speak again. Olivia grabbed my arm. Ethan, you must have misheard him. I sighed dramatically. I'm only 25 and I'm already going deaf. Must be bad genetics. You know, integrity is everything, especially in matters of marriage. I think I'd better go tell the Hayes family the truth. Slap. The sharp sound echoed through the room. Mr. Vance had struck Caleb hard across the face. Dad, you hit me. Caleb cried, clutching his cheek, tears welling in his eyes. You've never hit me before in my whole life. Mrs. Vance was horrified. She rushed to Caleb's side. How could you hit him? Mr. Vance's brow was furrowed with anger. Ethan is his older brother. He will show him respect. He deserved it. Mrs. Vance started to argue, but I interrupted. 30 million buys your way out of this family drama. This is goodbye. Don't contact me again, even if the sky is falling. As I walked out the front door, I couldn't resist a glance back. Mr. Vance, Mrs. Vance, and Olivia were all clustered around Caleb, fussing over him, their faces masks of concern. I smirked and kept walking. Once I was in the car, my assistant asked for our destination. The Hayes Corporation, I said. In Sophia Hayes's executive office, she poured me a cup of coffee herself. I slid a bank card across her desk. There's 30 million in there. The exact amount the Vances extorted from your family in that deal last year. Sophia took the card, her hands trembling slightly. With this, the crisis at Hayes Corp is over. We can weather this storm. Thank you, Ethan. I took a sip of coffee. You are my fiancé. Helping you is what I'm supposed to do. A faint blush colored her cheeks. Then her expression grew serious. What are you going to do about Caleb using that girl Chloe to slander you? I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. I'm going to let them tear each other apart. After talking with Sophia for a little while longer, I left. Sophia Hayes was beautiful, brilliant, and fiercely loyal. The idea that I would be messing around with a manipulative student like Chloe Miller was laughable. Meanwhile, Caleb left the Vance estate and went to meet Chloe. The moment she got in his sports car, he slapped her across the face. Mr. Vance, she cried out, stunned. You couldn't handle one simple thing. And you expect me to get you a job in my family's company. Caleb seethed. He rolled up his sleeves. The thought of the 30 million Ethan had just cost him fueling his rage. And he slapped her again. Chloe's face was already swelling. Mr. Vance, I'm sorry, she whimpered. I overheard them talking. The sponsor's name really was Jason Reed. I used his name to make it sound more credible. Caleb raised his hand again. Please, Chloe cried, covering her head. Mr. Vance, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Give me one more chance. I swear I'll stick to him like glue, and I won't let go. Caleb let out a breath, his eyes cold. Fine, one more chance. I don't care what his name is. You stick to the story that it was him harassing you. Got it? I understand, Mr. Vance. Now let me take care of you. Soon, the cramped interior of the sports car was filled with sordid sounds. Lost in their passion, neither of them noticed the tiny hidden camera mounted on the dashboard. The speed and competence of online detectives these days was frankly disappointing. Half a day had passed and no one had managed to dig up my full name or my official address. So, on my instruction, my assistant leaked it. My full name and the address from my ID. When a mob of self-righteous keyboard warriors showed up at that address to confront me, they were shocked to find it was the Street Clare City Orphanage. How could a man whose official residence was still an orphanage possibly have the money to sponsor a university student? The internet exploded with a new trending topic. This time it was about whether Chloe Miller was trying to frame an innocent man. My assistant watched the feeds, giving me a thumbs up. Mr. Ross, this free publicity is priceless. I just smiled. That evening, I took Sophia out to dinner. As we waited for our food, I noticed people at other tables kept looking our way, or more accurately, looking at me. Sophia noticed it too and immediately pulled out her phone. Sure enough, Chloe Miller was live on Instagram. Her eyes were red and puffy. "Please everyone believe me," she sobbed into the camera. "The only reason I spoke out against my harasser was to protect future victims. We can't let monsters like him roam free." She wiped away a tear and held up a photo of me. "This is the man. Everyone remember this face." Comments started flooding the chat. "Wait, people already doxed this guy. His name is Ethan Ross." She said the guy's name was Jason. Chloe started crying harder. Jason Reed was his alias. That's how predators work. They never use their real names when they're committing their crimes. Another comment popped up. "That's not right. I was a scholarship student at St. Clair too. My sponsor was a woman named Ms. Reed." The chat erupted. "OMG, we've been played. The sponsor's name is Ms. Reed, not Jason Reed. This girl is just trying to start drama. I know this guy. He was in my year. He was one of the top graduates from the business school." The tide of online opinion turned swiftly and brutally against Chloe. She stared at her screen stunned and could only repeat, "You're wrong. You're all wrong." Just then, another live stream started gaining traction. The host wore a mask, but they promised the internet the real story. The video they played showed a man and a woman in a car. Their faces and private parts were pixelated, but a distinctive earring worn by the woman was a perfect match for the one Chloe was wearing in her live stream. Screenshots flooded Chloe's chat. With a shriek, she ended her broadcast. Sophia closed her phone and smiled at me. "Well, that was effective. By the way, the official DNA results from the Vance family are in. I need to pay them a visit." I had the waiter pack up her dinner to go so Sophia could eat on the way. After I saw her off, I drove to the university. I was waiting in the empty auditorium when Chloe Miller walked in. The moment she saw me, she flinched. "You!" I sat leisurely in a chair and waved a hand behind me. A woman in a sharp business suit stepped forward. She approached my side and addressed me respectfully. "Mr. Ross." The moment she spoke, the few lingering students who had come to watch the drama began to whisper. "Hey, that's the voice from the phone call Chloe made. The professional-sounding one." The woman introduced herself. "My name is Ms. Young. I'm the Director of Public Relations for Venture Dynamics. Our company funds nearly half of the financial aid scholarships at St. Clair University. The program is administered under the name of Ms. Reed, our company's vice president." Chloe heard every word. All the blood drained from her face. Only now did she finally understand that the kind of man Caleb Vance had gone to such great lengths to destroy was no ordinary person. With a thud, Chloe dropped to her knees in front of me. "Mr. Ross, I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Please give me another chance." I remained unmoved by her pleading. 2 police officers entered the auditorium. My assistant had called them, because someone really was using their position as a sponsor to exploit students, and they didn't discriminate between men and women. That person was Caleb Vance. After Ms. Young provided the police with all the information our company had gathered, Chloe collapsed to the floor as if her bones had turned to dust. She muttered to herself, "Caleb, he was using his status to prey on students, both men and women. It's not possible." I addressed the officers. "Thank you for coming. Please let me know if there is any further evidence I can provide." After thanking me, the police took a distraught Chloe Miller away. As I walked out of the university gates, my phone rang. It was Sophia. She quickly filled me in on what had happened at the Vance estate. "The police have already taken Caleb into custody," she said. "Also, my driver had to leave for an emergency. I'm not sure how to get back." "I'll come get you," I said. "And I'll say one last goodbye to the Vances." Sophia was brilliant. She knew I had unfinished business and had arranged for her driver to disappear. Stepping into the Vance mansion for the second time that day, the atmosphere was colder than a tomb. When Mrs. Vance saw me, she charged, screaming, This was your fault. You did this to my Caleb." I caught her arm before she could strike me. "Even now," I said, my voice like ice, You still believe your precious adopted son is a kind, innocent soul. Mr. Vance was more composed. Ethan, Caleb is in trouble. Sophia knows the DNA report confirms you are our son. The marriage alliance will proceed with you. I laughed, a harsh, empty sound. I have never in my life seen parents who treat an adopted child better than their own flesh and blood. Olivia spoke up. Ethan, Mom and Dad do love you. They were just trying to protect Caleb. They were afraid he would try to kill himself again. He grew up in this house with everything he ever wanted. He wouldn't know how to survive otherwise. 1,000 angry words rose in my throat, but I swallowed them all. There was no point. I was about to turn and leave when Sophia walked in. I heard that after Ethan came back, Caleb attempted suicide 99 times, she said, her voice sharp. And yet he never succeeded. Didn't that ever strike you as suspicious? She scanned their faces. You were willing to sacrifice your own son for a boy with no blood relation to you. Your former housekeeper's son, I believe. How could you? She looked at me, then back at them. You were so quick to believe Ethan couldn't tolerate Caleb. Why not just look at your own security footage? Mr. Vance summoned the butler. Soon, the feed from the estate security cameras was playing on the large screen in the living room. They watched Caleb throwing himself into the pond. They watched Caleb rolling himself down the main staircase. They watched Caleb flipping over a table, sending pastries scattering across the floor. And finally, they watched Caleb selling the stolen Rolex to a pawn shop. Is that clear enough for you now? Sophia's voice dripped with contempt. It's a good thing for him that his last name is Ross, not Vance. I took her hand. Let's go, I said softly. You too. Olivia stared at our intertwined fingers. When did you get together? I gently brushed a stray strand of hair from Sophia's forehead. Before you ever found me. The news of the Vance Corporation's bankruptcy came on the same day my company, Venture Wind Dynamics, went public. Mr. and Mrs. Vance and Olivia came to my office to apologize, only to learn that I was the new billionaire mogul of St. Clair, the very same president of Venture Wind Dynamics they had been so desperate to partner with. I didn't see them. 6 months later, Sophia and I had the wedding of the year. Every major figure in St. Clair was there. It was then that I heard the final news about the Vances. They had pulled every last cent they had to finally bail Caleb out of jail. By then, Mr. and Mrs. Vance hated him. If it weren't for his disgusting crimes, their company would never have been boycotted into oblivion. Olivia hated him too. Her engagement to a prominent family in the capital had been called off because of the scandal. The three of them decided to kill him. They waited until he was asleep and tried to strangle him, but the sudden pain woke Caleb up. He was young and strong, and in the ensuing struggle, he overpowered and killed both Mr. and Mrs. Vance. Seeing her parents dead, Olivia, in a fit of despair, opened the gas line and held on to Caleb, refusing to let go as the room filled with fumes. In the end, the family of 4 all died together in that small rented apartment. When I heard the story, I couldn't help but sigh. Causing trouble even in death. That poor landlord, just trying to rent out a property, and now it was the scene of a murder-suicide. It'll never sell. As husband and wife, Sophia and I took the business world by storm. It wasn't long before she was pregnant with our first child. One day, on our way out of the hospital after a checkup, we saw a commotion near the entrance. A group of women were surrounding another woman, beating and screaming at her. I started to step forward to intervene, but stopped when I saw the victim's face. It was Chloe Miller. We overheard from the crowd what had happened. She had used her looks to seduce a married man, gotten pregnant, and tried to force his wife to grant a divorce. Unfortunately for Chloe, the wife was not one to be trifled with. She and her friends had tracked Chloe down. The police arrived soon after, just as they were putting a battered Chloe into the back of a squad car. Her eyes met mine for a fleeting second before she quickly looked away. If only she hadn't listened to Caleb. If only she hadn't tried to ruin me. Today, she could have had her degree from St. Clair and a decent career, but life has no do-overs. 9 months later, Sophia gave birth to a beautiful, healthy daughter. Holding my baby girl in one arm and my wife in the other, I felt like I had the whole world. And